We're up to speakers, so we're good. No, this is all picked up. So you guys can use that microphone.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We can take it out, stand and use phone there.
Is that the only handheld mic? That is low.
Okay. Hi, y'all. Woo. We're here. We're here. 20 years later, and we're here. Welcome. I'm Beverly Rainbow from First Church and GNU, and I am so excited about this evening. The collaboration
of the 4 groups in putting this together has been a joy. It really has. So everybody give a hand for the people that you know that worked on it. Yeah. And the names are in the program at the bottom here, if you want to thank them personally. So what I'm going to do, I am going to read, as soon as I get my phone back out, I'm going to read a chalice lighting, but we have all 3 chalices from all 3 churches. I don't think GNU has a chalice of its own. But so we have Evelyn is going to come up and light for First Church. We're going to light them all at the same time. And who's coming up for CCU? You? CCUU. Okay, Alan Malone. And North Shore, who's lighting? Tamara. Okay, so if y'all will come up and you can coordinate how you light yourselves. And I'm going to read a chalice lighting. Wait, I'm going to need some fire. Chalice lighting by Pat Arablichki. We gather. We gather. We bring our sorrows, our disappointments, our failures. We gather for healing, for laughter, and to rejoice. We gather to find new ways of loving, new ways of thinking, new ways of being. We gather. Yes, we always gather, for it is in gathering that we find hope. Okay. Now we have an opening hymn, right? Yes. And Tamara and Melissa from the North Shore.
All right, brace yourselves. We're doing a round. All right, if you want to look at the hymnal, it's number 1003, your teal hymnals or something. There should be enough hymnals for everybody. And what we thought we would do to facilitate is we're going to sing it through one time, just all the way through, which means that we sing each line twice with a little line for 2 dots and we repeat it. So we're going to sing each line twice, and then we'll tell you how we're going to divide up into a round. Just a 2-part round, so don't forget that. I mean, unless you want to, we can go for more if you want. Where we come from, where are we? Where are we going? Where we come from, what are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle of mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle of mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? So that's going to be the 2 lines, or the 4 parts. All right, so this side, I don't know, divide yourself however you like to be part 1. And Melissa Beverly, or Beverly Melissa, you can come over here, whatever, you'll be part 2. So we will start, and then they will come in. Go on down, Beverly. I'm with you. Okay. All right, ready? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we? Where are we going? Where are we going?
The video. The video, yes.
You want to start? Hi, Julie. You want to say something first?
Come up here.
Hi, Deanna. The microphone here. Okay, hi. We have a video that's sort of like the one you saw in the other fellowship hall, but it's a little different. This encompasses more a bigger scope of the destruction, and sometimes it's hard to look at, but I wanted to introduce Julie. She worked for the National Oceanic and anyway,
All right.
Julie is from North Shore, and she put this together, and she could talk to you about that.
Okay. Okay, I'm here to basically say Katrina didn't hit New Orleans. Katrina hit the northern Gulf of Mexico, or Gulf of America, whichever you want to say. So at the time of Katrina, my office was at Stennis Space Center, and my coworkers lived anywhere from New Orleans to the North Shore, where I live, to Hattiesburg, to Pascagoula, and all along the Gulf Coast. So the impact of the storm varied. You all know that. And the recovery for everybody varied as well. And we put this slide presentation together to show our other colleagues within NOAA, what we were dealing with down here, and more or less, it's views of the damage, but it also kind of gave them an idea of what we were dealing with. And I had a great boss at the time at Stennis who said, what Washington doesn't know or doesn't see, they don't need to know. As long as we cover the phones, if we have one person in the office, the rest of us can be out gutting houses and doing what we need to do to recover. So we put this together to let them know what was going on and why we weren't always on conference calls or meeting deadlines or something at the time. All right, hold on. We just did this.
I know, we tested it and everything.
Oh, somebody unplugged our speakers. Hold on. Oh, no. Hardware.
Is there special hardware?
Yeah.
This goes to this speaker.
No, that didn't work yesterday.
Oh, that works.
Well, we're not doing this.
All right.
We're going to start over. Best laid plans.
Be my kid. We are alone. Nobody's watching. Might take you home. Might make out. Nobody's there. not that we're scared, it's just that it's delicate. So why'd you fill my sorrows with the words you borrowed from the only place you've gone? And why you say hallelujah if it means nothing to you? What to say with me and oh. We might live like never before. There's nothing to give, but how can we ask for more? We might make love in some sacred place, and look on your face, it's delicate. So why'd you fill my sorrow with the words you borrowed from the only place that you know? And why'd you say hallelujah if it means nothing to you? Why'd you say with me at all? Why do you feel like sorrow when the words you borrow from the only place that you know? Why you sing hallelujah if it means nothing to you? Why'd you sing with me at home?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for coming out to join us tonight. It's a real delight to see so many people here to help us commemorate the 20th anniversary of Katrina. And our next activity will be to listen to three wonderful friends of our churches. And Beverly mentioned collaboration, and that's what GNU is all about. And certainly the process of planning this event. And so we invited the representatives from each church to pick one person that they wanted to be the spirit of the message in the experience of Katrina and post-Katrina recovery and beyond. And so our three speakers, Reverend Jim Vanderweel, Patty Cameron, and Reverend Deanna Vanderver, will introduce themselves, and afterwards I will walk you through briefly the rest of the program. So please join me in giving a warm New Orleans welcome to our three featured speakers.
Thank you, Henry, and thank you all for being here. Such an occasion. One of the things you might know is that I spent a little bit of time in front of all of the congregations in this area, and so forget the rest of the introduction. I'm going to get right into it because I have some time, and I have a timer right here. And I'm going to keep track of it, 9 minutes, 30 seconds, because I'll talk 30 seconds too much at the end. I do know that. I'm a retired minister. The hall is long. One of the things we heard after when the people came in to talk about us is that wanted to be here for the long haul. Well, it's been 20 years. And it's been a long haul. You look at what we just saw, friends, we've walked a long ways together. And it wasn't always easy. It wasn't always easy. I'm going to start out with Reverend Aaron Payson, who came from the UUA, Disaster Relief Fund, into Baton Rouge, and came with me on one of those days down to New Orleans. And the state police weren't going to let us in. And we took a U-turn there where the old Pilot used to be, a Pilot gas station on the other side of, and so we stopped there for a minute. And I said, let's go back and let's try the on-ramp. They just got a soldier there, and I'll let you do the talking instead of me doing the talking. They were going to let me come back and see this church in this location. It was about, I'd say 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. Water was still about halfway up to where it had been. And we talked to that guy, and we came in, and he led us right by because Aaron, he knew how to do it. And he gave us some materials immediately on what it takes to recover from a disaster. Materials that have been very valuable. I read every page in the booklet. And I tell you, it was 180 pages of material on disaster recovery and how disaster recovery happens around the world. One of the things that I initially found with Reverend Payson when we got here was that this church was no good anymore. It was completely wiped out. You see, we stopped and parked in the Winn-Dixie parking lot in Jefferson Parish as far as we could get on Veterans Highway, and we walked up over the bridge, and as soon as we got to the top of the bridge, we saw nothing but water. Every house where everybody had put out their barbecue grills and everything, every one of them was up to here, water. Yet at that time, 2 weeks after the storm, it was a slow start to the process, but we kept on going. And over time, we decided that we were going to get together and that decisions were made slowly but surely in each congregation. I saw some of those decisions as they happened. After the first year, when Community Church and First Church met together for about a year at two Presbyterian churches, one in Jefferson Parish and then right across the street, it was a difficult time. We were shaken. I was shaken. There was a time I went to UUA office and to have a conversation with them. And there wasn't much to me when I'm in to talk to the president of our association. I was wiped out at that time, wiped out and plugging on. and everybody was wiped out and plugging on. And pulled ourselves up by the bootstraps. You know, recovery is something that we do because we're able to continue to see a seed of hope of where we can go if we keep persevering. And we persevered. We carried on all of the way. After Community Church, the First Church split up, I still met with Reverend Marta. We met every day down on Magazine, or once a week on Magazine Street. We had coffee together once a week, every week, and we talked together. During the time that we were meeting, and then occasionally about once a month after we decided to separate into two places for our services. And a few years later, I went up to North Shore and helped at North Shore, was a co-minister up there for a couple of years and helped you get through a bit of your thing there, your survival, and what it was going to take for you to survive. And, you know, I'm just glad that I was able to do it because you all are beautiful people. Every one of you, just beautiful people. And that's one of the things I said here just this past Sunday at Community Church. I said, the city of New Orleans, it's got some problems. We've known it. It's got potholes. It's got corruption in office. It's got contracts going to the people who are the friends of the people who are bidding on the contracts. You know, it seems to be a bit of that here. Bit more in Louisiana than there was in Iowa, but anyway, thank you for at least laughing at one of the things I had. But the thing is that as we've gone on, we're beginning to see that, as I see it, the city of New Orleans would really benefit if there were about 3 times the number of you. I just about swore. About 3 times the number of you as there are. We need more people to be spreading the gospel of caring for each other. What happened to justice, equity, and compassion in human relationships? You know, we need more of that in this world. I mean, there are some things that, as I was raised and as many of you were raised, that was important things to how we live our lives. And it's confusing enough for all of us. But imagine if you just get heading off in one direction, you don't have the support and the values and the integrity of what we have in our UU faith community. You're great people. One of the things that I want to say that was important to me, and probably more important to me than maybe it should have been, although I think it was in the long haul very important to the congregations, is that I focused a lot in my ministry on the fiscal program. Community Church needed to be able to put this building back together. And they only had a $73,000 insurance policy. And they lost their building. And we put this building up. It took 5 years. And there was a lot of help from a lot of people. It wasn't just people, members of the congregation, although the internal work was very good too. But the same thing up at North Shore. I said, I'm not going to leave North Shore until they have figured out how they are going to pay off their mortgage. So they don't have a mortgage anymore. So at least they keep their building. Because one of the things we heard from the same people who said that we're there for the long haul was that if we didn't watch it, we would have 3 churches here in this area with no full-time ministry, no building for both of them, or the choice to make about having one or the other. That's why you need 3 times the number of folks that you have. Really is because it is a long haul, and it's going to be a long haul. And keep up the fight, keep doing what you're doing, because we're going to make it. You're going to make it in the long run. I won't be here 20 years from now. I do know that. But for some of you, this is going to go on for some time. And keep up the good work because you have come a long ways in a short time. Blessings to you all.
Thank you, Reverend Jim. My name is Patty Cameron, and I very much appreciated Reverend Jim's title because I represent Gulf Coast Volunteers for the Long Haul. I am a member of the Winchester, Massachusetts Unitarian Society near Boston, and our minister at the time, Reverend Mary Harrington, brought a scruffy group of people down here 6 weeks after the storm. We couldn't get near New Orleans because there was curfews, there was still water, there was no power. So we positioned ourselves on the North Shore, and it was our home away from home. And we stayed in what is now the community center, but it was the parsonage at the time. And the North Shore didn't have a minister, departed on questionable terms. And Reverend Mary, we brought our minister to become your minister. And she held court day after day under the carport, counseling and comforting. She was the leader that helped us form our nonprofit because we wanted to write grants. We wanted to continue coming. We wanted to continue supporting all of this community. And we, in the end, over 12 years, we came down with over 800 volunteers. And they ranged from 14 to 89. And we put everybody to work doing a job they could do, learning new skills. I can remember going home and my father saying to me, "Who are you and what did you do with my daughter?" I mean, I had never lifted a hammer. I had never, sheetrocked. What was that? And that's right. I became Hot Patch Patty because I could trim out the outlets where somebody had cut a too big hole in the sheetrock, and I could shut it down, Hot Patch Patty. And Reverend Mary, she didn't go. She went with she had her own reputation down here. She was the Velvet Hammer. She could talk anybody into doing anything, including all of us, including all of you. And Reverend Jim alluded to it too. What came out of this were lifelong relationships. What came out of this won't end. And, I look around the room and, all I had to do when I got here was wave and somebody goes, "Oh, Patty," It's just like coming home. And, to be able to contribute just a little bit to this recovery has been the blessing in my life. When, I was asked to speak and says, with a little help from your friends, that's what it takes. It takes caring for one another. It takes caring for yourself to be able to care for others and to know the importance of what each and every volunteer brought. And, in the fact that we had a couple people who came down on trips who ended up moving here because they fell in love with you. They fell in love with this city, Ed Vale. And so it's just amazing how we can, continue coming back time and time again to see some, old familiar faces, to meet brand new people, and, and just to enjoy the change. Because when we're here and we're volunteering for a week, you pick up that paintbrush or you pick up that hammer, but you don't finish the job. It's just too big. And, and so if you assess where you are when you come into a room, and then you do your work and you take a look before you leave, you see the mark that you've made. All of that is hope. All of that gives you strength. All of that helps you move on. We had a phrase in Long Haul, and it was, what does help look like to you? Because it was not our job to come down and fix things. This was not our home. These were not our homes. These were your homes. These were your businesses. These were your lives. And we just wanted to help, to make sure that the first thing on your list was ticked off so that you could get to that next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And that took, for young college kids who thought they knew everything in the world, it took a lot of talk. And, and it wasn't the talk, it was the listening that helped. And, and so their lives were changed. So the ripple effect of all of the work that we did together as friends has changed all of us. And so I really thank you for this opportunity. I thank all of you in this room for what you bring to this city, what you bring to these 3 churches, and how you will continue to carry on and support one another, because it takes friends. We'll be here forever. We'll keep coming back. I'm getting a little too old to do this stuff, but I know people. So thank you so much for inviting me.
We know people. Yes, we do. Oh, beloveds, miss you. I had the distinct honor of being tri-ordained as a Unitarian Universalist minister by the congregations of the Greater New Orleans Unitarian Universalists. So when anybody asks how this happened, I point to you. We shall be known by the company we keep. I was in seminary, but I happened to be now I'm the Reverend Deanna Vandiver. But at the time, 20 years ago, when some people near this room maybe weren't born yet, but still, 20 years ago, I was a board president of First Unitarian Universalist Church of New Orleans. And at some point after the flood, Reverend Jim Vanderweel and Terry Van Brunt, who was president of North Shore, and Deanna Vandiver were in a room together, and somebody was like, well, y'all Dutch people just like living underwater, apparently. And I was like, what happened? How did that happen? Here's what I know. A terrible thing happened that impacted, from Alabama to Texas, y'all, that is not a small amount of space and time. And 20 years later, I'm like, oh yeah, that still hurts. It's gonna hurt. It hurts until the end, right? So I'm just gonna invite us to take a moment, us humans in these human bodies who have been, I'm gonna apologize, inundated, if you will, with some intense memories. I'm gonna invite us to take a moment. Just take a breath in and out. And just notice where you are, if your feet are on the ground, if your seat is in a chair. If you want to bring your hand to your heart or to your belly, just breathe in and out. We holy humans, gloriously imperfect, part of a faith tradition whose web is not just a metaphor, but real lives and real stories. Before Hurricane Katrina and the federal flood of 2005, I don't think I'd ever been to community church or the North Shore. And years later, I preach at congregations across the country. I hope it doesn't take a hurricane for you to turn towards your faithful neighbors. And y'all, even though we went through awful things together, it's hard to people together. Anybody agree? Peopling? Hard? Yeah. I bet most folk in here have a story. Even if you weren't here 20 years ago, you got one from last Sunday. Peopling is hard. And we have lost some people we loved. So I just want to invite us to take a moment in this time out loud if you're comfortable doing so. And God, I hope at this point we're comfortable doing so. Just name the beloveds who've been part of the greater New Orleans Unitarian Universalists who are here with us in spirit. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Michelle Graham-Young, Augusta Butler. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. We give thanks that we have not had to do this alone. We give crankiness for having had to do it, not gonna lie, because wow, this, and it's still happening, right? It is my grief not to live here anymore. And every time I come back, I'm like, that hurt is still there. That bridge is still broken. That tree's new. It's beautiful. Thank you, whoever planted that, right? And we're living in the global context of, I don't know, I'll generously call it a bit of a dumpster fire right now. I want to give thanks for a faith tradition that told me I was loved and beloved and belonged. I want to thank every one of you for creating the congregations where people can come to and find out that they are loved and beloved and belong. If you're wondering on Sunday morning if it matters if you show up, please. It matters. I was a super lonely young adult who found a place and a faith that told me I did not have to betray who I was to belong to a community of faith. So I want to thank you, North Shore Community Church and First Church, for keeping the faith, being the greater Unitarian universe. GNU, it's a GNU. And I'm a shamelessly taking Ussie GNU. Are you ready? Okay. Everybody ready? Did we GNU it? Okay, now with the waves. We GNU'd it. Proof. 20 years later, we still hear y'all. We still hear y'all. Say it with me. We still hear y'all. 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 And I love you. Thank you, friends.
thank you so much, Jim, Patty, Deanna, for inspiring us with your words and your spirits, for doing what you did, for giving us hope, and for being who you are and sharing yourselves with us. I'll now briefly walk you through the rest of the evening. And everything that you need to know is in your inserts in the program. First thing we will note is that there is a line there that says highlights of post-Katrina 5-year plan going forward. And some of you, including Marilyn Malone, please stand up, Marilyn, so people know and can buttonhole you afterwards if they want more information or email you. Marilyn was one of the working group immediately after the storm, and is summarized in the back of the order of service. And so she excerpted the highlights and leaving us with this, because we still have strategic planning to do and doing to do. And so maybe there's some words of wisdom in here, and maybe there are some things that we can check off. And second thing is, another insert is, there is called Guidelines for Personal Reflection Activity and Questions for Reflection and Sharing. And so now each of you has the opportunity to be in an intimate small group circle of 6 people, and you'll have a facilitator, and it's an opportunity for you to share something of your memories or your motivations or your aspirations. And so there's going to be circles set up in the fellowship hall. And thank God there's so many of us that we have overflow space here. And so some of you can stay here. It's not going to be a real circle, but we'll make it work by configuring our bodies. And so you're invited to go into the fellowship hall, about 48 of you. I think we'll have about 8 circles set up there, and the rest of you can stay here and read this along the way and be prepared to share briefly. And your facilitator will give you hand signals about when you've got like about 1 more minute left of your 2 minutes to share your heart. And then maybe 20 seconds when they put the 2 fingers up. And then when they put the 3 fingers up, it means it's thank you very much, and it's time for you to pass the mic. And so that's our next activity. And then we will regroup back here when those, and we've got about 15, 16 minutes to do that small group sharing. So please follow the instructions and have fun and be good listeners, and know that whatever you share will be appreciated.
Do you want to identify the facilitators?
I'm sorry?
Do we just recruit 6 people, or how are we going to identify the
Oh,
facilitators?
well, we've desired to have a heterogeneous group, so there's representatives of each church in each group, hopefully. There's sort of an equal number of us here from the raise your hands at the beginning. So there are 6 or 7 facilitators that can go into the fellowship hall. Some of us will stay here. And so just go there and find a circle, sit down on a chair, and the process will unfold. We have 3 facilitators in this room as it is. 4, maybe. And so, yes, raise your hand if you're a facilitator, and find a corner of the room, and bring your group with you into the fellowship hall. So here are, and Reverend Sarah is a facilitator. So we've got 5 of them in this room, and
probably that many in the other room. Mhm. Oh, okay. Yeah, and there's room in the foyer. So we can go in the foyer, the fellowship hall, or here. And maximum of 6 people to a group so that we have enough time to share. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I listened. You know, the dawn was just showing in the window. And I was listening to the radio, and I was thinking, you know, that storm has come and gone. And it's, it didn't seem like all that about a week. And I didn't listen to the radio because, you know, no lights, nothing. No, what gives you, I was prepared for it. And then I heard the city ground listening to the city
To your point about
ground
grief.
hearing about and trying to find high spots.
Trusting you also monitor how.
And furthermore, the mess, and the mess, and the mess.
50 years of things leading up to.
And at that time, I worked in the States. And I worked in the office it was called Gentile, but it was actually out by the shopping center. The social services, writing in the time, stuff like that. So I had 2 floors, hundreds of people but who were living in that area mostly. There were people who I had become friendly with. I knew. And all kids, put their little backpack in their eyes. And they'd growl in the neighborhood. I worked. And that frights me.
That was exactly 3 minutes. And that
I think it's what I'm grateful for, but also what I appreciate. And so it's funny to be grateful for that in a way, but I'm always closer to this. And Katrina, years away, my teacher years, we're not connected by we so what really showed us what I knew was the house of the have-nots and houses and societies. There were people who were devastated. But this our society doesn't still quite understand what it's like to be a have-not. And how we could be better. That's what I also learned was how these have-nots from other countries. I was once who got 70s and got us back. And are willing to live in circumstances that many of us could barely live in these were our homes. So we were willing to put up the honor, live up on the 80s, so it was and we ended up having just I feel like you could be more honest. One bus times you could have to.
I was raised in a family that was a nuclear family, like in the area, like leave it to dealer, all that kind of stuff. Myself, sister, my mother, and father lived in suburbia. Sometimes my mother didn't even know the name. They would live next door to us where it's school. Family where dad would go off to work in the morning, come back and eat it. We get moved around by companies, they work for the golf. And we went to school all fairly normal. Company moved us from here to there, we never had, somebody had some rare home. We didn't have the instrument, we didn't pick up the firm. There was a short story one time, this fellow was, died in the same bed in which he was born 70 years. Anyway, this, we were, we had the horror, it was like seeing a king watching the drought on TV. We were in perfect weather up there, it was like 70 degrees. Well, the first thing we saw was they had the water coming up on the outfit, so it's all over with, everything's cool. There's water coming up on the outfit. What we knew what that meant. People around us in Chicago didn't know what they meant. We knew. You know, it's sort of, one of us, we all. And after we've been through this water, every year, I think now, I'm still for sure. Where my home is right here. 20 years later, I'm still there. I'd rather die in New Orleans. I'd rather drown in New Orleans for this winter.
Well, I'll say that I was on the board, CCUU board during Katrina. And although I didn't lose my home, my mom didn't lose her home. They did evacuate 5 of us in a small car to Alexandria, Louisiana, where we have friends. With a dog and 2 cats and part of this 5 hours. And I was, and that was when we were living in Revitalization. And friends that we had signed. And my horse shorts put on, and so I saw part of what was going on, and we were all part of the neighborhood all together. Each one of us was part of it with our ministers, and we had a minister. And we were all supported to bring it together. And I was on the board, and we did our, board meeting was a conference call, it was like people in different states. And then finally, we were able to meet in the World Trade Center, where we had long-term members and the office there. And I am impressed with all of the communications. And then these were the lessons of us who were doing, and I'm so glad in social justice, because there's she interpretations who were not. And so I was basically my congregation, I was doing a lot of work in social justice searching. And that was part of my minister, and I know color, and really put out, really beautiful. So, I was just very much aware of what was going on, both inside our community, but also outside. It was just so clear to me.
So this is our strongest
What's your great?
Oh, what I'm grateful
Oh,
for?
that's what I did. I'm grateful.
So how it changed me. Well, I moved to Houston to New Orleans in 2005.
That became clear to me when I came back. And so,
So my sister gave me a
so
shirt we haven't heard before.
that first church
And they gave me
at community church.
a t-shirt that said, I ain't afraid of her. And that was like I felt like that shirt was burnt. It was burnt.
Came down to was that everyone was so
It wasn't part of this church. It was part of a Unitarian church in Houston. And
we were the devastated.
Building and grounds.
Some of us, the way that I came to understand it was that
Joined it and
all of
ended
us
up being
Unitarian Universalists were so right. We were devastated.
whatever.
We were still devastated.
The strongest memories.
We were not as devastated as the people who could not even get home because they had been displaced to
Swear.
Salt Lake and everything those places before they got displaced. And so it was just,
The other thing is legal.
but it was just.
And the other thing was legal.
So difficult was understanding that this
Seeing
being devastated, but also understanding what it means to be and so I still stay struggling with that. And
because you want to move.
I think
So
the
they're
best
good
thing
cars
is
and everybody's going
I feel like I'm getting better at getting a response to our communications. And I feel like I'm whispering something like thin air. Yeah.
You just reminded me of the Superdome and all that mess downtown.
Yeah.
Screen, two major.
So what Charles Wild is that I never but I guess watching the sun has that I was seeing part of but I was big. But as an organizer, it's like all of a sudden think about and like and I know the children address what they're going to receive.
There's no way.
That somebody, when do you feel like you were, she was on that's like, somebody very close and I would have
So.
It feels good. Last Wednesday is like, about mom as a parent, another honor you want
It is pleasant.
for all the kids that help the kids, especially
Trailer, my brother joined us.
they really.
One day,
So. So,
Oh, yeah.
So it really was sold on that basis to me. But I'm also a mother and sister. Oh my gosh! Yeah. But when I first joined First Church in 2010, it was kind of half rebuilt. And it was so important to me that, just these curtains that are very beautiful. You didn't know, but that's why I did that. But so did that. We've since sold our buildings that had that beautiful Brooklyn their new church is inlaid by Marcy. Just amazing. I had gotten to know her, but she moved away from FLS here, and she's since deceased. Years. Yeah, goodbye from but I really was, it was very moving to see how much they had done, and since after I was in the country and came back in 2015, and it was even more beautiful. So it really, to see what slowly over time, just what volunteers had done to make the church, just building this a little bit better, a little bit more usable, was really, that stayed when I started here, talking about the minister and how it's being announced, and about the North Shore Church, and more progression. Right now, we don't have a minister, and it did really make me realize how much leadership from the church does provide and contribute to be a church. Even though sometimes it's ridiculous for the democratic process. I do that.
I think there's one choice. They told us here in 2005. Driving down the interstate and through New Orleans and not seeing any lights, not seeing any homes. You know, there's neighborhoods out there. You know there are people living in those houses that survive. You drive through neighborhoods. You drive down the interstate. There's no lights. You know, I saw it from here.
So that's how we got going west, and Jefferson, that was all lit up. That was like, all of a sudden, it was line. It's what you said, it was like, for the after. It was like the end of the earth. Yeah. Total darkness, no sound. And then sometimes military planes flying over the top of you and the spray from mosquito. And little bizarre things like that.
SWAT team everywhere, traffic lights. It was bizarre.
They did something like that because, you know, some kind of way it didn't explode, it didn't fall apart.
I never thought I could this right. I could do so much of the red light, but at a stop sign, you can't. I keep going, little, go, little. I know my car on the red light. I know, I do understand that. You mentioned that, and actually, Tracy almost said that. And my motto, has always been, step down and be a super trenches. Oh, did you choose? I left really good.
Did you leave this right? Your social security number on your grandma,
and I worked in a bunch of old time dads, and they taught me how to do her. Yeah, acts in the attic. Everything they said that was gonna happen, everything they said that was gonna happen, happened. I thought of everything they said exactly. And I evaluated it all. And she was standing outside there. I had a small shop. And it's like,
And those people live to the last, highly educated people that live in cinder block, things that used to be garage. Everybody has a place to live. They don't own the state owns it. If you bought 3 houses before the revolution, you got to choose which house that you want to have. You could see.
oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I was on Conway.
Well, balance with that background, in this country, we probably have three the bathhouse, have a car, your kids go to the they all live in the same place. They consider that normal. I don't think they really heard the rest. Because when they look around, they said that they also
I've worked with a lot of TV doctors and because it's one of the biggest exports and doctors. How delighted they are.
this guy, we visited his house. Wow.
Wonderful. This has been a phenomenal evening. It really was wonderful. We had great discussions. Great. Yes. But you know, we cannot leave without making a plan for our next get together, right? Yeah, absolutely. So the last page in your program, or one of the inserts in your program, gives you several ideas of what we can do next. And I would like you to circle a couple of them or add another one if you think of something else, and turn these into us as you leave so we can plan. And especially if you would put your name and contact information at the bottom, indicating that you would be willing to help. So some of the things are being together around a dinner table, being together around a fire pit with s'mores at North Shore. Yeah. Being together in a retreat, being together at a service project such as Habitat for Humanity, taking a train ride on the new Amtrak train from here to Gulfport, Mobile. Yes. A weekend retreat, workshops, an evening session on Zoom. We can do any of these things. So please circle a couple that meet your interests, and be sure to put your name and contact information so I know you're willing to help us plan. Okay, Reverend Deanna.
At some point? Yeah, for the crowd. Beloveds, I want to name the fabulous and glorious Quo Vadis Jex Bro, who led the New Orleans Rebirth Center, and then it came the Center for Ethical Living and Social Justice Renewal. Also, I want to name Ruth Didakula, who was co-director of it with me for many years after Quo Vadis passed on the baton. I want to thank everyone here who at any time served on the board. I invite you to raise your paw if you feel like it. Served on the board of Selzer, volunteered with our groups, were part of any of the anti-racism conversations, brought food to the potlucks when the volunteers showed up, had your houses worked on, helped folks work on houses, right? This was truly a greater New Orleans Unitarian Universalist co-creation, with great gratitude to our beloveds in Baton Rouge, those weekend warriors, for all the UU partner congregations who partnered with us, to the UA and the USC, to the many beloveds who didn't even know what a UU was, but they were like, here, I'll be here. I'll come show up. I want to say that we shall be known by the company we keep, and we keep good company. I would love for y'all to have lyrics to this, but imagine they're here. And the song is, we shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round, to tend these fires. I can sing it. I can't say it. You say it, I'll sing it.
We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the change from
the seeds of change from deep within
in the earth. Yes.
I can sing it.
Me too.
It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well.
It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
So we're going to invite y'all to rise and body your spirit. And get in where you fit in, beloveds, because that's how we roll. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now. And what a time to be alive. And what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. Again. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. Woo, colleagues. Reverend Sarah Green. Are we wrapping it? Okay. If you lit a flame, or not, never mind. Hello, Beverly is here to make it happen. I want to give thanks to these congregations. On Sundays, We do a lot of things differently at CCUU and at First Church and at North Shore, but you know what we do, beloveds? We bring the fire of hope and the warmth of community, and we light a fire. And at the end, we release it so we don't burn the buildings down. But listen, may you always carry that love with you in your hearts. And may we always know that we belong. We are beloved, deeply loved. May it be so. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. Go in love, friends.
We'll gather again. Yes, yes.
And if anyone needs a straw poll about the next gathering, I have a few more left. And please hand yours in, put them on the piano. Or pass them to me or Beverly on the way up.